Hello everyone, welcome to the Scotch Malt Whisky Society's May pub session for First Friday. It's Whisky Festival month, so we've got lots coming your way this evening. I'm Richard Gosselin, editor of the Society's members magazine Unfiltered, and as usual I will be your pub landlord tonight. So I hope you're all doing well as we emerge from isolation, maybe getting the chance to share a dram with people in real life. And I hope you're kind of getting out and about in a safe manner, but also glad that you can join us tonight on the pub session. So we're celebrating Whisky Festival month. Obviously, the festivals are not taking place in real life this year again, second year in a row, hard to believe, but we're making the most of it with the Society this evening. We are going to be going down to Campbelltown to check in with Ian McAllister at Glen Scotia. We'll be crossing to Islay to check in with David Brodie at Bunnahabhain, and we will also be meeting Rachel McNeill, a FAIGE committee member, to find out what's happening in Islay this month and also about her work with the Islay Whisky Academy. So lots going on and great that you can join us. It's also Music and Malts Month at the Scotch Malt Whisky Society, and we've teamed up with the DJ Vic Galloway to task him with putting together his music genres that he thinks work with different flavour profiles of society whisky. So we'll be catching up with Vic Galloway as well to see what he's come up with, and he's got some really good stuff to enjoy. We've got some live music coming up as well from virtual pub favourites Sam Gillespie and Shani Moody. So lots going on tonight, quite a busy show. Give us a shout out as always. Let us know where you're tuning in from. Let us know what you've got in your glass. Let us know how you're doing, and get involved in the comments. You can always put in a question for our guests, so just give us a shout out. And of course, keep your pencils sharpened for the pub quiz coming up later on in the evening. But first of all, let me say hello and good evening to Society legend and shall I say Partick Thistle's #1 fan, John, still celebrating.
Champions!
Fantastic. What a result. So back in the championship?
Yeah, back in the championship, which we were unfairly relegated from last year, I have to add.
Brilliant. Good to see you, John, and looking forward to a busy night tonight. But we're going to kick off. It's all about music tonight as well as whiskey. And we have our regulars in the virtual pub session, Sam Gillespie and Shani Moody. They're going to take us on a kind of musical tour of Scotland, I believe, tonight. So we've got 3 sets from Sam and Shani tonight. How are you guys doing?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Richard. Yeah, lovely to be here.
Yeah,
nice to see you as always. Good. Right, so where are we off to in our first set of the evening?
So yeah, first set, we thought, yeah, it's a big task, isn't it, doing a musical tour of the whole of Scotland? But we'll try our best. We thought we'd kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone in the first one because there's so much to cover. So we thought we'd do a song that Burns wrote, praising the lads of Galashiels. So here with this one, we're kind of getting the borders, and through Burns, we're getting the southwest. So okay. Yeah, if you know this one, sing along at home. Yeah, great tune.
Take it away, guys.
Lads. Cheers.
Okay.
Bra lads on Yarrow Braes, they rove among the blooming heather, but Yarrow Braes, no electric shores can match the lads of the Gala Water. Bra lads. But there is one, a secret one, to burn them all. I love him better, and I'll be his, and he'll be mine, the bonny lad of the Gala Water. Bra lads on Yarrow Braes, they rove among the blooming heather, but Yarrow Braes, no electric shores can match the lads of the Gala Water. water, braw, braw, lads. And though his daddy was nae left, and though I have no muckle coffer, but rich in fondest, truest love, will tend top locks by the Gala water. Braw, braw, lads, braw, braw, lads on Yarrow Braes, they rove among the blooming heather, but Yarrow Braes, nor Ettrick shores, can match the lads of the Gala water. Braw, braw, lads. It ne'er was wealth, it ne'er was wealth that carved contentment, peace and pleasure, but bands and bliss of mutual love. That's the chiefest world's treasure. Braw, braw, lads on Yarrow Braes, they rove among the blooming heather, but Yarrow Braes, nor Ettrick shores, can match the lads of the Gala water. Braw, braw, lads on Yarrow Braes, they rove among the blooming heather, but Yarrow Braes, nor Ettrick shores, can match the lads of the Gala water. Braw, braw, lads.
Oh yes, such a tune. I can imagine so many people singing along to that one. We're going to carry on with some lovely waltzes. If you've got any space where you are, we're going to try and make you want to dance. And they're lovely waltzes. Arran boat song, because we're going to go over to the Isle of Arran, leaving Lismore, so not too far away from Arran, the beautiful island of Lismore, and finishing with Westering Home, which is of course a song about Isla. So very, very apt for today's session.
Yeah, and if you fancy a waltz at home, a free waltz, these are all pretty good for that.
Freestyle. Take your partners for, or
the
just
first two
yourself.
isn't actually a waltz. The second two are.
Oh, that's so true.
Yeah, it's lovely to see all the comments flying in from all around the world. So amazing that we can, normally we play in the bar room of the vaults. It's lovely to be sharing music with people from all over the world tonight. Yeah, thanks a lot. Hear a note?
Oh yeah.
westering home with a song in the air, light in the eye, and it's goodbye to care. Laughter and love and a welcome in there. I love my heart, my own one. Sing of the land of the Orient gay. Tell me of riches and joys of Cathay. Aye, but it's grand to be awakened each day. Find yourself nearer to Ireland and its western home, with a song in the air, light in the eye, and it's goodbye to care. Laughter and love and a welcome in there. I love my heart, my own. Where are the folk like the folk of the West, cunty and couthy and kindly at best? There would I hie me and there would I rest, at home with my hen folks on Ireland and its western home, with a song in the air, light in the eye, and it's goodbye to care. Laughter and love and a welcome in there. I love my heart, my own one. Western home with a song in the air, light in the eye, and it's goodbye to care. Laughter and love and a welcome in there. I love my heart, my own one, and it's western home with a song in the air, light in the eye, and it's goodbye to care. Laughter and love and a welcome in there. One more. I love my heart, my own one, and it's western home with a song in the air, light in the eye, and it's goodbye to care. Laughter and love and a welcome in there. I love my heart, my own one.
Thank you.
Beautiful stuff.
Excellent. Well done. Well done.
Ah, love Western home.
Beautiful.
You've got people all over the world tuning in, so that's fantastic.
It's absolutely fantastic, Richard. We've got loads of people right across the globe.
Yeah.
From Greece, Tamara from Germany, Jonathan and Leanne from America.
Yeah.
Who else have we got? We got Chris Brown. Hello, Chris. And Frank from Germany. That's fantastic. Yeah, Greece. Great to see you all.
Great stuff. Right, Sam
Mark Lindsay from Crotty Ferry. Yeah, hey, Mark. Mark was the one who made some comment about Partick Thistle winning the League Cup in 1971, the last time I was on. Well done, Mark.
Brilliant. Sam and Shani, we'll see you soon. Thanks very much for now. Great stuff. Right, more of that to come, but we're keeping up with the musical theme. We've been pairing up, John, with Vic Galloway. He's a well-known DJ. Most of you in Scotland, at least, will have heard him on Radio Scotland, and he sits in on Six Music as well. He's a real music aficionado. He's as passionate about the music as we are about the whiskey. But we tasked him with coming up with matches between the Society's 12 flavour profiles and different genres of music, different styles of music. So Vic, lucky man that he is, took on that task. He wasn't able to join us live this evening because, believe it or not, there is actually a live music event going on that he's involved with. But he was good enough to sit down with me earlier, and we pre-recorded a little segment. So I'll play that just now. Here's Vic Galloway. You were set a task to come up with music and whiskey pairings. And I think what it really reveals is there's this kind of visceral power in music that you make very strong connections. But there's a similar kind of power in whiskey from even just the aroma when you put your nose to a glass. It can really take your time to a time and a place, like music can as well. So how did you find it, like putting these two worlds together, which have got very, very strong connections? So how did you find it, kind of making these whiskey music matches?
Well, first, Richard, can I just say thank you so much for giving this incredible task to me. It's been loads of fun for a start, but actually it's blown my mind. It's been one of these experiences that I never thought I would actually be asked to take part in. I mean, I love whiskey. And as you say, whiskey has this, incredible complexity and strength and vibrancy to it. Not only is it one of Scotland's greatest exports, it's got a sort of world unto itself, and music is complex as well, and it has all these micro genres and different styles and eras and so on. And alcohol and music, alcohol and dancing go very well together. In fact, they're inseparable. So the worlds of whiskey and the worlds of music going together seem absolutely natural. Now, when I was asked to pair 12 different malts from the Scotch Malt Whisky Society with music, I wondered whether they wanted, me to pair it with Scottish traditional music. I mean, obviously, maybe some people who aren't that familiar with Scotland might think that that's the only music that gets created and listened to in Scotland is fiddle music and bagpipe music and folk music and singer-songwriters and so on. And obviously that's not the case. Scotland's a modern country like anywhere else. So I did, before I started, I asked, is it okay if I pair the whiskies with all kinds of different genres from around the world and through history as well? I'm a rock and roller, really, but I suppose the bigger umbrella is that I'm knowledgeable and I'm about pop music, and alternative music, I suppose, specifically. So indie music, rock, punk, hip hop, electronica, reggae, etc., etc. That's my kind of expertise, and it's, as you can tell by the wall of music behind me, it's something I've spent my entire life indulging in. I'm lucky enough to have turned my teenage hobby into my job. So I wanted to make sure that the remit was right, that I wasn't pairing things up with the wrong kind of music, or that you wanted something specifically Scottish. But when it was kind of like, no, it's completely up to you. Now, I have very wide-ranging tastes as well. I love, as I've just mentioned, reggae and soul music and blues and jazz and so on. I also like metal and rock and punk and things with noisy guitars. I love electronica. I love hip hop and rap and grime and so on. So I sort of, in the back of my mind, I knew I had a wide palette to draw from musically as well as whiskey wise. And I sort of thought to myself, I'm just going to play this by ear. I'm going to try each whiskey as I go along and really savor each whiskey and go through some of the tasting notes. And sometimes that would lead me in a certain direction, the tasting notes, but really try and go on instinct. So if I thought, for example, I went through them chronologically, if you like, 1 to 12. So I went through Young and Sprightly was the first one I tried, and as it says, as the title sort of leads you to believe, it is sprightly, it is sort of effervescent, and so I tried to think of a type of music that I loved that would fit that sort of description. And then, of course, I would listen to the music while drinking the whiskey. And there were a couple of wrong foots, a couple of mishaps. I went down a couple of cul-de-sacs and went, no, I don't think that one really does suit the whiskey. But quite often, one of the first or second genres that I would try would fit quite nicely. So actually, it was quite tricky to begin with because I'd never done this before. But once I'd done, I don't know, maybe when I was on to whiskey number 3, I really had the hang of it. And I also, if you read the captions on the website that go with every malt, you'll see that I had some fun with the descriptions as well. I was kind of shooting from the hip a bit. I've written a couple of books. I'm a journalist, so I quite like rock journalism and I had a lot of fun. I was quite playful with the descriptions. So the short answer is it's been a lot of fun, and hopefully I've done you proud.
You've definitely done us proud, Vic. The tasting notes, I think, are fantastic, and there's a lot to enjoy for anyone in there. And as you say, there's 12 flavor profiles, so we're covering the complete range of society of whiskies and all the different characters. And in terms of the music, there's something for everyone. There's a dram for everyone, and there's a kind of musical genre for everyone. Did you find, like, going through the flavor profiles, obviously having a sample of each flavor profile in your glass, did the whiskey speak to you in a musical way? For some of them, it may have done, but you mentioned Young and Sprightly and Dream Pop. That came to you quite quickly. Was that the case with all of them, or were you having to dig a wee bit deeper with other ones?
Yeah, some of them I had to dig a little bit deeper, because I'm by no means a whiskey expert. So I love whiskey, and I've been to the Whiskey Society countless times, and I really enjoy my visits there. And anyone who lives in Edinburgh or Scotland should definitely get themselves a membership and head along. And if you're traveling to Edinburgh on holiday, for example, if you're a tourist in Edinburgh, then try and befriend someone who's a member so that you can pop in. So I'm a whiskey fan, but I'm by no means an expert. I would never class myself. I know I've got friends who will, nose a glass and come out with the tasting notes, and sometimes it's comedic almost, the sort of boil in the bag shepherd's pie or whatever it may be. But I'm not an expert, although I know my heavily peated, I know my my Speysides and my Highland whiskies. I know when a whiskey's good, and I can differentiate between the complexities of different whiskies, but not like yourself, I wouldn't imagine, someone who's trained and knowledgeable. So yeah, some of the musical pairings were a little trickier than others. But for example, Juicy Oak and Vanilla, immediately I love reggae music, and it just had that kind of, ginger, pineapple, the kinds of flavors you maybe taste in Caribbean cooking and Caribbean cocktails and so on. And that kind of music is sweet, and it's got an air of warmth and friendliness, but it's also got that kind of slightly exotic feel to it. So something like that fell into place really well, I thought. But as I got more peaty, I didn't know which way to go. As the whiskeys sort of get more peated, to me, they get more powerful and they get more potent, and they actually get more potent alcohol strength wise as well as flavor wise. And so that kind of I felt like I should go with slightly more potent music. So as I get more peated, it goes into, psychedelia and punk and rock, which, obviously I love all these genres. And it's on, almost when I was tasting a peated whiskey, it would grab me. And of course you can't drink 12 drams in a night or you'll fall over. So I would do 2 or 3 at a time. Just so that I didn't overwhelm my taste buds. Yeah, some of them came to me quicker than others. As I say, spicy and dry, that one took a wee while. That was whiskey number 4 on the sort of flavor chart. And there were little bits of licorice and that kind of spice coming through. And I remembered back to my teenage years of being slightly gothy, and listening to The Cure and Susie and the Banshees and all that sort of stuff. Licorice was a flavor that you would have. Pernod, I remember, it would be a drink that people would have mixed with blackcurrant cordial. So this would be a teenage goth kind of drink. And those flavors started coming from the whiskey. And so I started playing those kinds of tunes, Bauhaus, Nick Cave, The Cure, Susie and the Banshees. And it just seemed to fit together nicely. But that wasn't necessarily my first choice in that genre. I tried a couple of other things first, but then I settled on that, and it seemed right.
Well, I recommend everyone to check out the tasting notes and the musical suggestions that you've come up with. I've got a wee oily and coastal dram in my glass tonight. So this you paired with electronica and kind of post-rock music, right?
Oh, it's absolutely delicious. It's funny because some people sort of say, when I was telling friends that I was involved in this project and doing this, they were sort of saying, "Oh, I like the sort of dried fruit rich whiskies, the sherry casks and the Highland whiskies and so on. And other friends would say, oh no, I like the smoky Lagavulins and Lafroigs and the peaty ones. The kind of oily and coastal it's got salt, it's got seawater. It takes me when I was sipping this one and I was doing my music pairings, I just think of electronica and post rock as a kind of slightly oblique, atmospheric style of music. It's not about pop songs. It's not about immediate. There's the verse, there's the chorus, there's the hooky bit. 3 minutes and you're out. It's about extended passages of music. It's about sonic tapestries, if you like. And this oily and coastal made me feel like I was kind of standing on a harbour on the west coast of Scotland, getting battered by the sea, but kind of enjoying it. A lot of people who haven't had that happen to them sort of wonder, why would you go somewhere where you're going to have to wear a cagoule all the time and a scarf and a beanie hat and gloves and get battered by the elements? But actually, there's a real adventure and fun to that. And so this whiskey actually reminded me of that sort of experience and brought back those kinds of experiences. And I kind of think of Scottish landscapes and sea and that kind of, and also Iceland, actually. I think of that country, which I've been lucky enough to visit, as pairing with that kind of slightly oblique electronic sound. So yeah, I went for that electronica and post rock, and I gave a few suggested tracks. One of Scotland's finest bands, Mogwai, I put them in the mix. They've just had a #1 album as well, which is absolutely astonishing because they're quite a sort of uncompromising, uncommercial band. And after 25 years of making this kind of idiosyncratic music, they went to #1. So I included a track from their #1 album. Also Sigur Rós, a band from Iceland, who are world famous now, but they do have this kind of esoteric, ethereal feel to them, which I feel went really well with this. I also included Boards of Canada, an incredible Scottish electronic duo of brothers who live not far from me, actually, in East Lothian. I think they're sort of Dunbar way, and by the sea. I bet you the sea and the coastal views and landscape all influence their music. And as a fourth suggested track, I used Square Pusher, who is an absolutely astonishing electronica producer, quite uncompromising again, but he can make some of the most beautiful esoteric music you've ever heard, full of melody, full of different rhythmic ideas, and with a sort of otherworldly quality. So I chose one of his more modern tracks, but also slightly more gentle tracks. But I think this genre goes really well. I mean, how about yourself, Richard? Do you think it goes well?
I think it goes incredibly well. But what I've listened to some of the music that you've paired up with the different flavor profiles, and what I've found is it's almost like when you read a tasting note, and then that brings things to your mind, and it kind of provokes thoughts even before you've had them. And the music's kind of done the same thing when I've sat with the dram. For example, the Dream Pop, I sat and had a Young and Sprightly with some cocktail twins that you suggested, and it just sounded fantastic, and it kind of enhanced the whiskey. And I suppose that's the point of this, that in each of these pairings there's something there which it kind of improves both experiences of the whiskey and the music.
Oh, I'm so delighted you say that, Richard. That is exactly, obviously, what I wanted to do. You know, as I said earlier on, it was a little bit daunting being asked to do something like this, because you don't want to make a mess of it. You don't want to screw it up. Pair whiskies with certain kinds of music genres and different tracks, and then everyone's like, nah, I don't agree. Now, tasting food or drinks or anything, whiskey in this case, is such a subjective thing, and listening to music is also a subjective thing. I mean, consuming any kind of art, looking at a painting. I mean, my girlfriend and I, we have very similar tastes in some things, and then other things. I love abstract impressionism and more avant-garde painting and collage and so on. She doesn't at all. She likes, you know, perfection in art, and sort of, you know, line drawing and design and so on, which I also like. But there are certain things, and it's exactly the same with whiskey. Some people will like a fruity, spicy whiskeys. Other people will like something more peated. And again, with music, you might drink, or someone might drink the, you know, Young and Sprightly and not identify with the Cocktail Twins or Beach House or Washed Out or some of the tracks I put with it. You know, they may hear something else. So there's always that challenge. But I would like people, much like yourself, to just kind of sit back, pour yourself a dram or two or three, and just go with me. And hopefully, as you've just said, the music does enhance the flavor of the whiskey. Because, I mean, as you mentioned, the tasting notes, sometimes the tasting notes are like hilarious to me. I mean, I've got some of them here. I love, you know, rhubarb and custard sweets. I mean, who would think that a whiskey would taste like that? Or, you know, sticky toffee pudding. I suppose that's maybe a bit more obvious. Breakfast cereal, or pine, or hospital laundry room. I mean, these are quite, again, avant-garde in a way, comparisons. But once you're in the mode and you're in the zone, kind of smelling, tasting, really relishing the whiskies, then you can start to connect with these tasting notes, and, as you say, hopefully with the music. I mean, it's been an absolute pleasure doing this.
Brilliant. Well, I can only recommend that everyone dives into the pairings and the taste notes. Beautifully done, Vic, and a great selection of music. And we've got a Spotify playlist with all your choices for all the 12 flavor profiles. So that's available. And you're in Unfiltered magazine with all your pairings and all the details about what you've done. So I raise a glass to you for your good work, your dedicated efforts in going through all 12 flavor profiles and finding appropriate music. So cheers to Vic Galloway.
Cheers, Slange, to you, and thank you for asking me to do this. I've enjoyed, obviously, listening to music, but drinking these magnificent whiskies and thinking outside the box. I mean, everyone wants a challenge. I certainly do. I love challenges and new projects to get stuck into. And this has been a total pleasure. So I'm delighted to have been asked. And yes, I hope everyone enjoys the music and the blurb, the captions I put with every whiskey. They're fun and playful, hopefully. So dig in and enjoy. Cheers, Richard.
Cheers, Vic. We'll see you at the vaults before too long, I hope.
Oh, definitely. You can't stop me. As soon as the restrictions are lifted, I'm there.
You got to love a man who enjoys his work there, John.
That was fantastic. I mean, what he was describing there was exactly what happens, you know, with the memories and the emotions, working with the olfactories to create these pictures in your mind. You're drinking a whiskey. I just thought that was amazing. I don't know whether he meant it or not, but he was actually describing exactly how it is. What I thought was quite funny, though, was when he was talking about Scotland and the weather on the West Coast and all that. It brought to mind that saying by that great Scottish philosopher, Billy Connolly, who said, in Scotland, we only get 2 seasons, winter and June. Oh, but by the way, folks, I can't find a way. My computer is not letting me make comments. So, hi, Wenche from Norway. And Grant, I got your comment. Grant's from Stonehaven. And he's telling me that he's in the playoffs, and who he's talking about is Stranraer FC, all the way up to Haven. Well done, Grant.
Very good. Right, let's move on and bring in our old friend of the virtual pub, Ian McAllister from Glen Scotia Distillery, looking very well under lockdown conditions, Ian.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, guys. Yeah, it's been
Is that a lockdown beer, Ian? Yes.
That is indeed. Even the hair, everything's locked down. I've got to have some excuse.
Good to see you, Ian. Any thoughts about music and malt matches there? Any inspired thoughts with Vic and his different genres of music?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, when you're thinking about the music, you know, me invariably goes back to the 80s. You know, so I'm thinking in different 80s bands. You know, Simple Minds and Big Country. You know, a lot of these top Scottish bands that was in the go at the time. So yeah, I'm all for that. Absolutely brilliant. Absolutely.
Did you see how many CDs he has in his collection behind him?
It's absolutely amazing, isn't it? Envious.
And he said that was just the one wall, because apparently all the other walls are covered as well. But
I hope he's got an alphabetical order. Can you imagine trying to find one?
I know. It's here somewhere. I know it's over there somewhere.
So, Ian, how have you been keeping? How's life in Campbelltown?
Well, it's different, isn't it? And I think it's different for everyone. It's certainly been a challenging year all round. But we seem to have come through the worst of it. And as I say, it's online. It's been amazing. I think I've met more people normally, through the virtual sense than I would normally in a good year at the distillery. So yeah, it's fantastic. Now things are starting to get back to normal. So hopefully we're through the worst of it. And production for us has been running from the end of last summer. So, and it's been a busy year with one thing and another. So it's been good. Good.
And what about your plans for, obviously no real live festival this year, but still some virtual events planned?
Yeah, absolutely, Richard. We've got the online virtual Dunwich Festival tasting pack again this year. So again, the short video and a few casks that I've selected. So yeah, so hopefully it goes as well as it did last year. Last year was obviously lastminute.com came together very well. Seemed to work quite good. So hopefully we repeat that this year. So but yeah, it's good. It's good. We've got to do something, haven't we? You've got to obviously fill the gap somewhere.
Exactly.
I remember a couple of years ago, Ian, we were doing SMWS. We were doing a kind of a worldwide broadcast, really, from the place. It was a room we had next to the Art Shield at the festival. We were doing it, and I was with our Australian ambassador, Mark Bailey, but we had a problem with delay on the sound. We only found that out when into the Art Shield, where they were listening to it afterwards. And what happened was that he would speak, and then the sound would be delayed. So then I would speak, and it sounded to everybody like I was speaking with an Australian accent, which was which was a bit of a first for people, But it was a wonderful, wonderful festival 2 years ago.
I think we've all learned a few online lessons since then, hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That's exactly it. There's that many different platforms, isn't there? Between the Zoom and Teams and everything else in between. So before March last year, I never heard of any of them. So it's it's good, but it's a fantastic way of meeting people, isn't it? It really is. Obviously you can. There's no excuse nowadays. That tasting you couldn't manage to get to, you can get to now. So
that's funny. Rich and I were just talking about that earlier. I think for that reason, when we get back to live, I think companies, whiskey businesses will still keep up the virtual because they can reach out to people where they couldn't before,
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's drink some whiskey, gents. We've got a society festival tasting pack. It's got 5 drams in it, and one of them happens to be from your neck of the woods, Ian. So we've got samples out. So shall we have a wee sniff and a wee taste?
Sure. It's from a oily and coastal flavour profile.
Yeah. Do you know the tasting notes? The tasting notes are absolutely world class. Whoever did the tasting notes.
Well, I'll tell you what, whoever did this one, Ian, needs a medal or something. What is that all about? I mean, that's incredible. I mean, we were talking earlier about this, but solvents, molten bicycles, and fragments of sheep scattered everywhere.
I think we're getting into the novel territory now. I think this is actually, you're getting into sci-fi and writing.
That's right. Yeah. They're meant to be a bit of fun, of course, as well.
It reminded me of a Salvador Dali painting with melted steam puffers and molten bicycles. Don't know. Are you getting melted steam puffers in this one, Ian?
Do you know the funny thing is when you mention things like that, you know, the trainer, my train of thought just goes totally off, and you know, I'm way off on another tangent here. So I'll try to find obscure things in this dram. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, you've often talked, Ian, about the maritime effect of Glen Scotia, and I've got a comment here from our newsletter to members in winter 1999. Gordon Liddell had visited Campbelltown, and he wrote, "The blown salt which clouded my windscreen when I left was that which I knew was finding its way into the barns, the hogsheads and barrels, and into the town's whiskies. In varying degrees, it is the salt which makes them distinctive."
Absolutely. You know, you kind of miss it, you know, and there's something about a Campbelltown dram, you know, and it's certainly got that coastal, you know, that coastal aspect there. It really, you know, the maritime, coastal, the salinity, the subtle oiliness.
Sure.
But absolutely, it's got that wonderful, you know, that fruit or the background, the flavour profile, which is obviously really, really important.
This one's got all of that, isn't it? It's got the kind of the briny sort of coastal feel to it.
Yeah.
Melted tractors, whatever it is.
I'm not sure of the cask, but it tastes like a first fill bourbon. You know, it's obviously got that bourbon, that American.
It's a first fill bourbon barrel. Yes, it is, Ian. It is, yeah. Ian, yes. 13 years.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that's from my era. So yeah, that's long opinion now. You know, a lot of these older ones are. You know,
there's a question in there, Ian, from Don. He's saying, why are the SMWS 93s so different from the ones from your dunnage warehouse? How are they so much more industrial? Is it the cask strength effect?
I think, you know, it's probably the way it's made, to be honest with you. You know, obviously the Glen Scotia, you know, Glen Scotia's certainly been through you know, it's quite a story with the distillery. So from the very early days, it's who's had it or who's owned it at that time. It's how they've run it, what they were after. You know, what were they going to do with that whiskey? So, you know, and it's from that early era, absolutely. You know, it potentially is slightly more industrial, as you say, slightly robuster, potentially not just as finely tuned in the flavour profile. You know, the different aspects there, the casks they were using, the fermentation times, etc. All this would have had a huge influence in that type of, you know, that dram from that era. So yeah, it's incredibly interesting, you know, to try these different Glen Scotias, you know, because some of them, you know, some of them are really quite interesting, you know, up to the present day.
Ian, when did you move from Wormtubs to Sheldon Tube?
Oh, well, I
1914.
No. We've
longer ago than that, yeah.
1920s, there used to be 3 stills in Glen Scotia, so you're pretty much, you'll be right away back, potentially, you know, the 20s, 30s, really.
Oh, right, okay. I thought it was a more recent change. Okay.
Now it's I've changed a couple of condensers, but the you know, it's just light for light, John. You know, I've never.
Okay. Sure. Okay.
So, again, you know, the condensers really work well with the type of stills we've got. You know, obviously they're quite short, like an Islay still, but you're getting great contact with the, you know, the shape of them with the copper. So it really works well with that, especially with that Sheldon Tube condenser. So
sure, okay.
Yeah, amazing. It's,
well,
wonderful.
We're lucky also to have a wee sample of your festival bottling from this year. So shall we compare and contrast? I don't think we'll be calling this industrial at all.
No, I hope not.
Oh yeah, and thanks for the sample, Ian.
My pleasure, sir. My pleasure. That's the bottle, guys. Okay, so that's lovely. Getting back to that Highland Cow thing again, aren't we? But no, it's lovely colour. So absolutely. So what you've got here basically is it's kind of select distillations from 2009 to 2011. Again, it's old favourite, isn't it? The first fill bourbon. It's non-peated, and we'll basically vatted them, and then we'll fill them off into first fill red wine casks from the Medoc region. Left them for 5 months and bottled it at 56.1%. So very, very accessible, very, very easy to drink. You know, and normally you get that little bit of peat, that peat sinew running through it. But as I say, there's no peat at all in this one. So, and as you guys know, red wine casks are obviously, you know, they're quite problematic at times. They're difficult to work with. But yeah, I love the flavour profile on this one. Lovely jam.
Fantastic. Great colour to it as well.
Lovely colour. Yeah. Very much a rosé, isn't it? You know, it's got that hint of rosé. Absolutely beautiful. Very much
that's
red.
Wonderful. That's funny. You never believe that's 56%, Ian.
No. It's
beautiful.
Very much flavour driven. You know, it's obviously got the Campbelltown aspect there. It's really got that, you know, that maritime influence there, but it's very much flavour driven, that one. So yeah.
It's very sweet and spicy, I think.
Yeah,
absolutely. A lot of red currants, red berries going on there. Yeah, in the background you still get that. You still get that bourbon. You know, the original bourbon. Yeah. So
very nice. So you're also doing a kind of shout out, Ian, for archive material. I know that you're kind of celebrating Campbelltown's whiskey history, and just by coincidence, Unfiltered this month, we've done a feature on Campbelltown's whiskey history, and Glen Scotia shared some archive shots that you've already had. But is this an actual campaign that you've got going on to kind of get people to send in imagery that they may have dug out of the attic somewhere, and kind of trying to collate some more archive material? Is that the general idea?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's obviously something a bit different, isn't it? And it's something that really interests me. I've got to say, you know, the history of the whiskey in Campbelltown is fantastic. But yeah, it's obviously for the greater good of the industry, and you know, not just in Campbelltown and, you know, further afield. So we're obviously looking for information. When I started at Glen Scotia, guys, you know, there was very little records on who worked there and, you know, what had went on previously. So it's been a long process, but we've pieced a lot of it together. You know, we've pieced that jigsaw back together and we'll understand better, you know, how the place was owned and operated, etc. So it's.
Well, we got some cracking images as well of Campbelltown back in the day, where it was Whiskyopolis, or, you know, the whiskiest place in the world kind of thing. And it's just amazing to see these old images.
It's wonderful, isn't it? A wonderful shot, and, you know, and it showed you how it operated. You see the casks there, and they just look like casks you'd use today, you know, obviously from the late 1800s there, you know, so it's quite amazing. That's a marvellous shot. Absolutely marvellous shot. That's a shot, I think I mentioned to you, Richard, I've never seen before, and that certainly tells a story. You know, that obviously conveys how Campbelltown obviously made that wealth in the early days, the fishing, you know, the herring fisheries.
And just what a bustling place it is. It's hard to imagine.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
So those are just a few examples of the shots, but we've got a nice piece on Campbelltown's whiskey history and Unfiltered. So if anyone wants to check that out, the new issue is out. But they can also get in touch with you guys at Glen Scotia as well, Ian, just to share anything that they might have as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, just anything at all, just drop us a note or whatever, you know, and it's as I say, we'll you know, we'll obviously acknowledge where it came from, and hopefully, you know, be able to use it in future campaigns. I'll just show you something quickly. This is something a kind gentleman actually gave to me. I met him this week, and I don't know where you could see that. So that's things like that. Yeah, you know, things like that are absolutely priceless. You know, and this is basically a list of old Scotch whiskies that you could buy, you know, around Scotland. And what really fascinates me about this is it details the casks. You know, how much you pay for it, whether you're using sherry casks, whether you're using plain casks.
My goodness.
So, you know, and it's good to know that. You know, obviously.
When does that date from, Ian?
1892.
My goodness.
1892. So that's 1890. Yeah. As I say, and it's basically it's a list of old whiskies. You know, and inside it's very delicate. But inside it'll basically show you, you know, a lot of Islay distilleries there. There's Campbelltowns, there's Highlands, and there's other distilleries, you know, and they'll basically show you the casks that we're using, how much it would cost you, whether you could get a sherry cask at Bowmore or, you know, things like that. So
Yeah, fantastic.
it's good to know, because obviously, you know, what you're doing nowadays, you can tie that in with, you know, what happened previously. So
That's right. It's part of legacy and history, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
amazing.
Great stuff. Well, I hope you get some people sending in some more archive material, and I hope everything goes well with your dunnage tasting as well. So,
I guess sorry, yeah.
Just
25 you've got. Yeah, thanks for that as well, Ian.
Okay, so obviously it's something I'm incredibly proud of. You know, whiskey of the year. So yeah,
Sure, absolutely.
Fantastic for the town. Brilliant. Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Brilliant.
I'm just thinking there, Ian, if we're on whiskey and music, there's two pieces of music which perhaps I immediately think of when I think of Campbelltown. One is Mulla Kintyre by Big Boys, but the other one is Campbelltown Loch by the one and only Andy Stewart.
Well, I'll tell you, I think a lot of these the tasting notes for this one would tie into that one quite well, I think.
After half a bottle.
2 drops.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Ian, it's always a pleasure. Thanks for joining us tonight. Great to see you. And we'll see you down the road before too long.
Thank you very much, guys. Thank you. Take care. Thank you.
All the best.
Great stuff. Right. So the musical theme continues. We're going to return to Sam and Shani. They've got the second set of the evening. So without further ado, let's bring Sam and Shani back in. So where are we off to now, guys?
We're going north and west.
Yes,
North
indeed.
and west. Great stuff.
So,
all right.
yeah, sadly, it's not Campbelltown Loch, our next song. But,
Or Mulla Kintyre.
I'm surprised you two have even heard of that.
Right, guys. Over to you.
Yeah, so our next set is so this is some Gaelic Porch de Beal. So we're kind of going further north and west, as Shani said. So this set will take in a bit of Skye and a bit of Lewis, and it's going to begin with a tune that we learned from Gaelic singer Christine Primrose on the Isle of Skye, but she's from Lewis, and it's a great song. Well, a set of Porch, but it begins with this one called Farum Bí Mihin, and it kind of, it's a couple of folk and they're talking about going to the house of the piper and having a tune, and if the piper won't give them a tune, they'll go to the house of the fiddler and have a dance. So pretty good tune. And then the second one is called Shall of Curioen, which was collected on the Isle of Skye in the 1950s. Shall of Curioen, it means see Owen's boat going around the White Headland, and he's the captain on it.
Nice coastal theme, you know,
yeah,
the tasting notes.
Coastal theme, yes, indeed, yeah. And then we have Shimmerut the Chunigmi. Many's the thing I saw. A muich is figna heiche out throughout the whole night. So such a night as you might have, perhaps, on the whiskey.
Yeah,
so
and especially after the taster that Ian sent. Where's ours? Just kidding.
Oh yeah. Okay, so these are some Push to Beal from Lewis and Skye.
We do actually have some whiskey. Don't worry about us.
not like what you get in the vaults though. Farum be me heen, the sound of his smochas. Farum be me heen, the sound of his smochas. Farum be me heen, the sound of his smochas. Farum be me heen, be mochas sound. He's me heen, the sheen, the dog at a feeper. He's me heen, the sheen, the dog at a feeper. He's me heen, the sheen, the dog at a feeper. Nischen broken reeler and heen yer and bar. Farum be me heen, the sound of his smochas. Farum be me heen, the sound of his smochas. Farum be me heen. the sound of his mavochas, Param be mavochas sound. Ismataram pipa, Poshkin isn't Rita, Ismataram pipa, Poshkin isn't Rita, Ismataram pipa, Poshkin isn't Rita, sound of his shins creep and Yila van. Param be the sound of his mavochas, Param be the sound of his mavochas, Param be the sound of his mavochas, Param be mavochas sound, Param be the sound of his mavochas, Param be the sound of his mavochas, Param be sound of his mavochas, Param be mavochas sound. Shalaf Curio and the school gravitator, Shalaf Curio and the Shakatakaru van the Shalaf Curio and the school gravitator, Shalaf Curio and Shakatakaru van the Shalaf Curio and the school gravitator, Shalaf Curio and Shakatakaru van the Shalaf Curio and go gravitator, Shalaf Curio and Shakatakaru van the Shalaf Curio and the school gravitator, Shalaf Curio and Shakatakaru van the Shalaf Curio and the school gravitator, Shalaf Curio and Shakatakaru van beyond, and skipper, yo and beyond, Shakatakaru and beyond, and skipper, yo and beyond, Shakatakaru and the Shalaf Curio and the school gravitator, Shalaf Curio and Shakatakaru and the Shalaf Curio, go gravitator, Shalaf Curio and Shakatakaru and yo and beyond, and skipper, yo and beyond, Shakatakaru and beyond, and skipper, yo and beyond, Shakatakaru and Shimmerutachanit me, Shimmerutarain me, Shimmerutachanit me, and we fit a hay, Shimmerutachanit me, Shimmerutarain me, Shimmerutachanit me, and we fit a hay. Honamina Kitakana Kitakana Kitakana, Honamina Kitakana Kitak the Melia, Honamina Kitakana Kitakana Kitakana, Honamina Kitakana Kitak the Melia, Shimmerutachanit me, Shimmerutarain me, Shimmerutachanit me, and we fit a hay, Shimmerutachanit me, Shimmerutarain me, Shimmerutachanit me, and we fit a hay. Honamina Pisakana Pisakana, Honamina Pisakana Spirit back and Taja, Honamina Pisakana. Pisakana, Honamina Pisakana, Spirit back and Tate, Shimmerutachanit me, Shimmerutarain me, Shimmerutachanit me, and we fit a hay, Shimmerutachanit me, Shimmerutarain me, Shimmerutachanit me, and we fit a hay, Honamina Kitakana Kitakana Kitakana, Honamina Kitakana Kitakana, Honamina Kitakana Kitakana Kitakana, Honamina Kitakana Kitakana, Shimmerutachanit me, Shimmerutarain me, Shimmerutachanit me, and we fit a hay, Shimmerutachanit me, Shimmerutarain me, Shimmerutachanit me, and we fit a hay, Honamina Pisakana, 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 Honamina Pisakana. Spirit back and Taja, Honamina Pisakana, Honamina Pisakana, Spirit back and Taja.
Well done, Sam. My gosh.
Well done, you.
Nice one. We've actually got one more for you because we're going further north still to Shetland. Where else?
Yeah, I don't know how many whiskies there are from Shetland, but it's probably a few, isn't there?
Gosh, we should have checked.
But anyway,
Someone in the comments might know.
Yeah, no doubt, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, whether there's
I'm
whiskies
sure
there or not,
they
it
will know.
seems good to definitely include Shetland in this tour because there's so much amazing music from Shetland, you know. It's one of those places where the
Someone's dancing.
good, someone's dancing. Thanks. Yeah, it seems like with Shetland, it's like has a sort of disproportionate amount of music and tunes. It's kind of one of those places where there's just such a rich tradition. Applause from Scotch on the Bayou. Nice. Wow. Wouldn't that be cool? Scotch on the Bayou. Yeah, one day we'll go to America, I hope.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this is a beginning with a more somber tune and then going into a couple of reels, all from Shetland. The first one's the Slucket Light, so like the extinguished light, written by it was Annie Bain's teacher. Is it Ian Anderson? I know that is also the flute player from Jethro Tull, but I think it might also be the name of
course.
This guy. Yeah, and it was inspired by him seeing some the lights on the bay, I think, and then the last light going out when he was out on a boat, and then one called UBS Devon, and then the last one will be Jack Broke Down the Prison Door. Yeah, cool.
But we'll keep the Shetland reels quite.
Yeah, keep them nice and steady.
Well, cheers. And thank you so much. We're not used to it nowadays, really. But we'll be back, and who knows where we're going next.
Indeed. And I should just tell you before you go, Sam and Shani, that my colleague Rebecca messaged, and she's from the Shetland Isles. She said it was Tom Anderson who was the teacher.
Yes, that was it. Yes.
And he didn't just teach Ali Bain, he taught her as well. So she messaged her.
Hey, wow. Oh,
so
man.
that's great. Obviously a legend up in Shetland. Lots of great feedback from around the world. So thank you guys again, and we will see you before too long.
Cheers.
Okay, great stuff, John. Eh?
Absolutely. Hi to Heidi from London and Andrew and Marianne from Luxembourg. They're coming in
Fantastic.
from one place.
Right, let's cross the water to Islay, and we are joined by Rachel McNeill, the force of nature behind Islay Whisky Academy, Phage committee member, And you got a wee guest with you there as well, Rachel?
Yes, I'm warning everybody. It's a wee fox I'm babysitting this weekend, but she thinks that she's a Rottweiler. If the wind comes outside, you might hear like wild growling, but just ignore it. But there's nothing I can do about it. She's just the boss of the house at the moment. So her name's Fern. She's cute, doesn't she?
Fern is very cute. Fern looks quite tranquil for the moment.
Well, she is tranquil until someone drives past or a bird goes on the windowsill and then goes mental. So let's hope that she'll be good while we're on.
Yes.
So lovely to see you, Rachel. Tell us how's life in Islay starting to open up again, getting some tourists coming over. Obviously, no real life festival this month, but things starting to move a wee bit again now.
Yep, things are starting to move. There's domestic visitors coming, like from these isles, and the festival have put together a brilliant programme. So there's a fantastic online programme. It's maybe running for 10 days this year. So all the distilleries have got their days the way they normally do. We've got events as well as the Academy, but they're slotted in. We don't have a day of our own, but our events are slotted in throughout the week. I'm doing an introductory tasting, like an introductory dram tasting for the committee. So I think that's on the Friday, like before it all kicks off. So I think that's the same day as Arden Ho. So that'll be exciting. The distilleries are not open for tours until about the 1st of July, I think. The shops are open and you can go in if you make an appointment, but nobody's selling the festival bottles, so there's no point in coming over to get a festival bottle. I think you can buy them online. So that's the way they're running it, just to keep everything safe. But we're doing the best that we can, So that's the kind of structure of it. But there's a brilliant programme, because obviously we knew sadly that it wasn't going to be a feast this year. The committee have got a brilliant structured programme for everybody to join in. So some event tastings, obviously folk will buy them, but there'll be a lot of music like there was last year and free events. So just keep tuned to that and people can engage with the festival.
So pour
the
number 53 from the pack, Rachel, because that's the Islay Whiskey Festival one in the little pack there. So I've got the 53. If anybody else is enjoying that, give us a shout.
Slanger.
My number 53.
Slanger.
So when are you going to be able to do your academy again live?
Well, I'm hoping, John, that it'll be in October again this year.
Okay.
Because we think that international tourists will be coming towards the end of the summer, as long as everybody's got their vaccinations and things like that. So I'm hoping that the academy will run in October. I'm planning for it.
Okay, good stuff. I see lots of the people on the chat are alumni of the...
Yes, it's so brilliant. So I want to say a big shout out, because there's so many students on. So I'm going to mention loads of them. So we've got Venki from Norway. We've got Chris Brown, who's like an honorary ambassador of the Academy in America. Tamara, she's an honorary ambassador in Germany. We've got Donna Andrews. We've got Leanne from Scotland Bayou. Jonathan Bingham, he's a big supporter of the Academy, and also Glynis. Glynis is watching as well. We've got Jay Havner, who was at the Theatre of Drams. He's on as well. John Malios, but he had to go. So, but then there's a lot of other ones that we're going to watch the recording, but they're double booked because there's so much stuff happening, online. We've got 6 events in one night. It's mental.
And I must say to you, Leanne, I was going to wear my pendant, but I forgot it. It's sitting up
Oh,
there.
the Ian McAllister pendant. Yes, yes.
Thank you for the pendant, Leanne. Yes, yeah.
Brilliant. And do you know what I was thinking as well, Richard? It was brilliant listening to what's his name, the comedian, because when the way that you've got the music and drums, I was thinking, oh my God, that just ties in so well with Volume 1 of the Academy, because we teach folk how to deconstruct a whiskey. The structure, we tie it more to piping and pibroch, but it's just, it develops it further, what you're doing with him and the flavour notes and all the different kinds of music. But it's really interesting how to like deconstruct the journey of a drum.
Yes,
And how you go through
I quite like what he's doing, because he's talking. Obviously, we've got Scottish traditional music, but he's taking it way out there into kind of less, well, not such traditional genres, I suppose, in terms of Scottish music that you think of. But he's way out there and trying all kinds of different things.
It's fantastic, and bringing in so it's Scottish musicians, but it's a different way of interpreting music and playing their own music that suits them, which matches with so many different kinds of whiskies that we've got. So it's really fantastic, and find it very interesting.
I think Scotch whisky over the generations has reached so many different demographics and different cultures, hasn't it? That it can
Absolutely, John.
married with so many different things now. Because I mean, once upon a time, it might have been sort of thought of as being a kind of old man's drink, but it's no longer that, and it's such a, you know, it's enjoyed by so many different types of people, and therefore different types of music. You know.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, in the Academy, Rachel, you're a great one for talking about the context of the whiskey, the place and the land and where it comes from, and the culture and the history behind it, you know. And that is what people who come and visit Scotland and its distilleries love. They
Absolutely.
go away with a sense of that, don't they?
And yes, absolutely. And the thing is that you can translate that into modern music and using different instruments to play. It doesn't need to just be the pipes or the fiddle. You know, it's to do with how you feel. It's to do with the journey through the landscape. It's also to do with maybe the traditional way of creating something. So, for instance, like in so if you were playing a pibroch, you've got the ground, the foundation, and then it repeats again, but it repeats differently, and then it repeats again, but differently. But when you go through your dram, that happens to you when you're nosing and tasting. You move through the journey, and you get the same notes again, but they're slightly changed the same way as you do when you're moving through music. And it doesn't need to be typing. It can be, you know, any kind of music. So you can take that to your country and translate it through your instruments that are like kind of local to you or more traditional to you, but the whiskey matches in with it, and you can deconstruct it. Like architecture, you know, it's volumes and the way that you look at it. It's really interesting. I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Right, guys, I've tasked you this evening with taking on the pub quiz. You're the quiz master and quiz mistress. So shall we crack on and see if everyone's up for the pub quiz? Let's add it into the stream here, and then I guess you can just take it question around. So, John, do you want to kick off?
Yeah, I'll go first. Yeah.
Right. So for everyone, it's a multiple choice quiz as usual. 10 questions, and put your answers into the comments box, but we'll reveal the answers as we go along.
And the winner gets a season ticket for Partick Thistle next year.
that's the compensation prize.
And I promise, John.
Very good. Right. Let's kick off.
Okay, what was the first new distillery to come online in Campbelltown for more than 25 years in 2004? Was it Glengyle, Kilkerran, Glen Scotia, or Hazelburn?
How much time do they get, Richard?
Not long enough, Rachel. Not long enough for them to Google it.
You've got to be faster than the.
Yeah, get your answers in the chat. Yeah.
What's that Radio 2, the guy that does the 10:30 music quiz, it's in the morning.
Ken Bruce, is it?
Yes.
Oh, she's still around.
Still
My
around.
goodness.
Well, some version of him is, yes.
Yeah. Okay, we've got a few answers there. Got a few A's, a couple of C's.
Right. Shall we just reveal the answer?
Number B. Okay, the answer is A, Glengyle. Glengyle. And Glengyle was revived 8 decades after it was closed down. Like Springbank, it's under the ownership of G&A Mitchell, with its single malt marketed under the Kilkerran name. Okay, it's marketed as Kilkerran. You could read more about Campbelltown's rise, as Richard mentioned earlier. Campbelltown's rise, fall, and rise again. And Gavin Smith's feature on Campbelltown in our Unfiltered magazine. Okay, so if you really want to know about Campbelltown, get into that article. Wonderful.
Okay. So question 2, no peaked here, but the question is, which distillery uses coal to fire its stills? So is it Ardmore, Bimber, Glengarry, Yochi? Well, that's it. You've got 4. You can choose.
I thought your pronunciation of Glengarry was spot on, Rachel, but I'm not sure about Yoichi.
You've got to say the ch right. It's not Yoichi. Well, maybe it is. No.
Yeah, Chris Brown said he honestly doesn't know. He honestly doesn't know.
Chris Brown, I expected you to know. Jonathan might be onto something there. Yep. What else? Colin Sim? No. Who else have we got? Oh, Glynis Regan's creeping up the leaderboard.
We don't know if she's right yet.
Oh, we don't know if you're right. But we do know if you're right.
Right. Shall we reveal?
We'll do the big reveal. As Yoichi or Yoichi. Fun fact, although Yoichi on the Japanese island of Hokkaido still uses coal, there is a return to direct gas-fired distillation by quite a few people, with Glengarry going old school with gas-fired wash still as part of a 6 million refit. Bimber in London are also going down this route, and it stills for its new Dunfield distillery near Forest. And you can read Tom Bruce Gardine's featured in Unfiltered to tell you more about what's happening. More about this old-fashioned coming back into new-fashioned direct-fired stills.
And can also tell you folks that a couple of years ago, I visited Yoichi in Hokkaido. And every time I've been to Japan, it's been sweltering weather. And this time I didn't check, and I forgot that Hokkaido is known for having the same climate as Scotland. So I was wearing very light clothes, and it was snowing. And also, I got a tour of Masataka Taketsuru's home, which they've preserved. There's a little bit of a kind of museum, and he's got some very interesting books in his bookcase. I can tell you that. I'm not going to mention them tonight.
Okay.
And the other thing was, before I went to Yoichi, I was at Akishi, a new distillery in Hokkaido, right? And on the wall in the tasting room was a football shirt. And it had Rotha's FC football shirt, and it was sponsored by the makers of the distillery, who in Yoichi, which of course is, what's the name of the distillery? For goodness, right out of my head. The distillers, so there we are in Akishi with a Scottish football shirt and a Scottish distiller on the breast of it. That's fantastic.
I hope you were wearing your Partick Thistle shirt, John.
I was hoping to try and get it swapped for a Partick Thistle shirt.
Okay.
Right, John, over to you.
Is it your question, John, or
Well,
mine?
my question, okay.
Okay.
Question is, Society Honorary Ambassador Hans Offrigar, lovely man, has written 3 books about music. Which one of these did he not write? So Bourbon and Blues, Rum and Reggae, Cognac and Classical, or Whiskey and Jazz? So those of you who read Whiskey Magazine and that kind of thing and are unfiltered will probably have a clue to this, the answer to this one.
Rum and Reggae sounds like an ice cream or a pudding. Who's making success here? Glynis, come on now. Expecting you to keep going with your...
Yeah, somebody's changed their mind. That's all right. That's allowed.
I changed my mind. Good.
Yeah, a few people going for Rum and Reggae, a few people going for Cognac and Classical.
Rum and Reggae would confuse you because I thought myself it was Rum and Reggae. But
well, the one that he didn't.
It might not be.
The one that he didn't write, Leanne, you're quite right. It's Cognac and Classical. He's never written a book about classical music yet. He's done a few about other types of music, and you can check out our feature on the New Unfiltered, featuring input from Hans and Robin Lang as well. Robin Lang, one of the panel chairmen, who's a lot of you will know as a singer-songwriter. As Hans says, a great dram combined with a great song create their own kind of harmony.
This is true. This is very true. Very
For
true.
those of you who are interested, Robin Lang is on the virtual members tasting on the 27th of May. So if you join in with that, it's the same drams as tonight, the festival drams, and you'll enjoy some of Robin's patter and his music.
Oh, that'd be brilliant, John. Has he written any new songs?
He's got a new album. A new album about to come out.
Yeah, that's right. Cool.
Now, if you haven't heard it, folks, all you folk from around the world, try and get a listen to his song Whiskey Pilgrims from his last album, because it's about people travelling to Scotland to learn about our country and our whiskey and taking that back home with them again.
Great songwriter and singer, isn't he?
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay, question number 3. Why is the name Ronnie Lee well known across the whiskey industry? Now, this is a question for you, Glynis. He's a distillery architect. He's the fastest mover in the world. He's a master distiller. Oh, and he's a millwright.
You knew this one then, Rachel.
How are we getting on with the...
Oh, well, Ian McAllister's chipped into our private chat there. He's got the answer, but I would expect him to know the answer to this.
Yes, absolutely. And otherwise you'd be fired. Absolutely fired. Oh, now look at this. Look at this. Glynis is doing well again. Chris Brown, it's very clear I need to study mode. Mode, Isle of Whiskey Academy, volumes. Scotch on the Bayou, Leanne, not so sure. Anybody else? Oh, Stephen Fisher's looking quite good. He's moving up the leaderboard. That's a wee clue.
Right, shall we reveal?
We'll do a grand reveal. He's a millwright. So it was A. Oh, D. Sorry, I've got an A here.
Oh.
Right answer. Sorry. Fun fact. Ronnie is the man who mends the unbreakable Porteous and Bobby mills that we see across the country in all our distilleries. And Ian Buxton has done a article in Unfiltered that you can read about him. He's an amazing man. Amazing man.
It's an amazing story of these Porteous Mills, isn't it? Because people tell you that they were so indestructible and so reliable that they put themselves out of business. Because no one ever needed a replacement.
But you see, they were eco-friendly before it became fashionable.
Yeah,
so I'm with
okay.
them. I'm with them. Save the world. No more plague.
Okay, folks, this next question. Which coastal distillery is this?
And there's some people not allowed to answer that. That might
Is
be
it
involved.
Ardbeg,
They're
Bunnahabhain, Lagavulin, or Scapa?
Is that too easy, Rachel?
Well, I think if they don't get this right, they're all fired. But it's a bit confusing now because it's very glamorous now.
Yeah, it's all changed, eh?
With our new VC.
Yes, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Chris Brown's back in form again.
Good lad. Good lad.
I think David Brodie got it wrong as well.
Yeah, the answer is...
David Brodie got it wrong, yes. Because he normally sees it from the inside out.
Okay, folks, the answer is Bunnahabhain, okay? Now, that stands for mouth of the river. And what's unusual about Bunnahabhain is that the village actually grew up around the distillery to house the workers and all that. It's a wonderful, wonderful story. And I've got something to raise with David Brodie when he comes on. A little gripe I've got about this distillery. It's a bit of a funny, but I'm going to talk to him about it anyway. It's to do with a direct barrel, David, if you're listening.
Oh, poor David, he's sweating now. He's sweating now. Okay, next question. So, which band were behind the creation and release of the blackened whiskey brand? Is it A, Manic Street Preachers? Is it B, Mogwai? C, Motorhead? Or D, Metallica? Never heard of any of them. No, only kidding. So it's obviously it would need to be a very strong whiskey, I would think, to go with these bands. How are we getting on with the answers?
Seems to be between D and B for most people.
This is a hard question. I mean, I wouldn't know the answer to this at all.
I've kind of heard the story, but I didn't know the band.
Peter's looking good. Oh, Colin Simmons. Oh, Chris Brown, you're doing well. Mm-hmm. Kai doesn't know at all. He's just in a wee funny wee shape.
No, Kai knows. He's just getting his heavy metal gesture.
For evil, is it?
I couldn't comment.
Because the answer is, can I say the answer now?
You certainly can.
The answer is Metallica. And the band created Blackened in collaboration with legendary master blender Dave Pickerell in the US. And they matured the whiskey in a warehouse blasted by enormous speakers playing Metallica tunes 24/7. In the name of God, you've been needing another dram after you've had a dram of that. For a dram of Glen Scotia. Here.
Well, supposedly it was to make the whiskey mature faster, so that the vibrations of the Metallica music would help the spirit interact with the wood.
Definitely would have made it shake, I'm sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. I don't know if it improved the whiskey or not. Can't comment. Right, John.
Okay. There's a society festival bottling from this distillery. Where is it? Is it Blair Athol, Bunnahabhain, Glen Scotia, or Inchgower? There's one of all those in the festival packs. Which one is this photograph?
And there's some people not allowed to answer this question because they obviously have a step ahead.
Our guests.
Some of our guests are not allowed to answer.
Would you have got this one, Rachel?
Yes, because there's a photo of me coming down these stairs. Yeah, attempting to take the photo from above a while back. Yeah.
Okay, folks, I think most people seem to have. Well, wait a minute. Yeah, I think most people are getting that one. It is Glen Scotia.
Woo!
Okay, Glen Scotia. Now that we mentioned earlier about that tasting note in your pack for the Glen Scotia Festival bottling, that is a cracker. I don't know who the chairman was that day, but he certainly had a lively sense of imagination going on there. That was great. Yeah,
Good stuff.
Okay. So this one is now for music geeks, not so much whiskey geeks. And the question is 89.15. Pinball Wizard references the song by The Who. Who performed it in the film version of Tommy? And it's not the obvious answer because I fell into that trap myself.
No clues, Rachel.
Not that I'm trying to give you any clues or anything. Right, sorry, Roger Daltrey, number 1. Elton John, number 2. Oliver Reed could have been, or Tina Turner, even could have been. Yep.
This question's only in here because of the musical theme for the month and Vic Galloway's music.
Expand. So it's not all just whiskey. It's good.
Exactly. Something for everyone.
Yep. Oh, Mark Lindsay's looking good. Oh, there's Glynis creeping up again. Oh, Chris Brown. Oh, Kai's not allowed to answer these because he probably made this quiz. I think he's just
inside information.
We got the quiz. How are we getting on?
It's obviously an easy one, Rachel.
Is that an S or a Z? Scholars Lounge, Munich. Will I see?
I've already revealed it.
He's revealed that. He's
way ahead of you.
Oh, you're miles ahead of me. So they are Elton John. And the fun fact is, Elton performed Pinball Wizard for the 1975 rock opera Tommy. And it was a top 10 single for him in the UK in 1976. All the others in the list appeared in the film and sang in it as well. That's why I was confused, because I thought it was Roger Daltrey. Well. Oh, okay. I should do this next question, John.
Okay, you carry on, Rachel. Yeah, okay.
It's about piping.
Yeah, okay.
Which of these songs does not feature a bagpipe solo? For goodness sake, who would want to listen to a song that didn't feature a bagpipe solo? It's AC/DC. It's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll. Big Country, Fields of Fire. Paul McCartney and Wings, Mull of Kintyre. Or John Farnham, You're the Voice. Now, all my students, I'm assuming that they're all lovers of piping, so they should all get that.
But this is piping with a difference because it's not your traditional pipes. Well, maybe some of it is more traditional than other forms, but some of it is certainly not traditional.
That's true. That's very true. Oh, Leanne, we'll see you later. Dame Shirley Passy.
Bye, Leanne.
Don Naismith's winning so far with his answer.
I say E.
How are we getting on? Who looks like this? Going ahead here?
They're all over the place, I think, Rachel.
Well, they're allowed because from all over the world. So I suppose they're allowed all over the place.
But they should know that there's a brilliant bagpipe solo in the AC/DC song, It's a Long Way to the Top, if you want to rock and roll. So
Absolutely. Absolutely.
The answer is?
It's quite surprising by country because you would assume that they would. So that's quite interesting.
Yes.
They've not got it. Fun fact, our Aussie Sailor Master, Andrew Durbridge, is getting into the music and whiskey mood for Unfiltered this month, including his pick of bagpipe-friendly pop. Big Country, this is what deceived people. Big Country managed to make their guitars sound like bagpipes, but they were always guitars. That's impressive. Now, Richard, that's ahead of you, because I saw guitars behind you the other day, like earlier on. So that's your task now. Make your guitar sound like bagpipes.
Just before we move on, you like this, Rachel. There's one of our members, David Colvin. He's been the world champion piper about 4 times, and he's written Thunderstruck. And you mentioned AC/DC there, Richard. David's play is about Gordon Duncan, the life of Gordon Duncan, one of the most famous pipers, Scottish pipers.
Fantastic, yes.
And he plays Thunderstruck by AC/DC on the bagpipes.
Fantastic.
And he's won awards on that play in Scotland, in this country, and in Australia. It's funny we should mention Andrew there, you know. So it's worth picking up, folks, if you've never heard of it before. Thunderstruck by David. Fantastic it is. One of our members. Okay, next question. Which distillery translates into the Big Rock from Gaelic? Is it Ardmore, Cragganmore, Dalmore, or Tormore? Okay.
This should have been one for you, Rachel. You would have known.
I know we did it, but that's because I wanted to do the piping one. I should have left it for the Gaelic one.
So what have we got, folks? What do we think? Dalmore, Ardmore, Tormore.
Most of them seem to be good at their Gaelic.
Don Naismith says Strangler's Golden Brown. You're a bit behind the play here, Don.
Don just says raw whiskey.
I think he should get a prize anyway, you know, for most interesting answers.
Okay, lots of people going in there, and lots of you have got it right. The answer is Cragganmore. Okay, Cragganmore. An Cregan means rock, and more means big. Okay, so a little fun fact here: lots of more in distillery names. We get Dalmore, the big field; Ardmore, big height; Altmore, big stream; Bowmore, big Seary for rock; Glenmorangie, Glen of the big meadows; Tormore, big more, big more. Yeah, and there's also in Glasgow we've got Geese some more. You see when you don't get a big enough dram.
Absolutely.
Geese some more, you know.
Slange matter that.
Very well done. Fantastic. What a great pair of quizmasters. That was great. Most of the questions were designed to promote articles and Unfiltered, but thank you very much. Rachel, thank you so much for being a great sport, as always.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Hope the virtual season goes well, and we'll see you in Islay next year for sure.
Yes, for sure. Come and
I'll see you soon, Rachel.
Brilliant.
Thanks,
Cheers, Rachel. Right, cheapers, John. It's a big night tonight, John. It's non-stop. And waiting in the wings, we're delighted finally to be joined by David Brodie.
Hi, David.
Waiting patiently in the wings. How did you go on with the quiz there, David? Oh, he's not even unmuted. There he goes.
So bad. You know, it's fine though, because I had somebody specifically requested that as I joined, I went, hello! So there you go. I'm here. I thoroughly enjoyed the quiz. I did, absolutely. But I loved the question about Ronnie Lee. Now, I think Ronnie's actually retired now. I think he's chucked it.
Do you think he has? I thought he was still going.
Is he still going? Is he? Maybe
as far as I know.
Coming in. But I could tell you a story about Ronnie Lee.
Please do.
That I can't tell you. I honestly can't tell you the story about Ronnie Lee tonight. But it does involve Mary Mackay's Bray, which is about 100 yards along the road from me, away along towards Rachel's house. But I'll need to tell you in secret one time, and when you are in Warehouse 9, because it cannot be broadcast.
Okay.
From that quiz that I liked. Well, I get nothing right. Even the
picture of Bunnahabhain Distillery.
Yeah, I chose to get that one wrong. So all good. No, I'll be honest though. Thank you very much for asking me on here tonight, and I'm so glad that I'm at the totally relaxed end of the night. You know, when standards have started to slip a wee bit, and we can get away with a bit more. So yeah.
David, the gripe I mentioned was that I thought one of the best things in the whole of Scotland and visiting distilleries was the Bunnahabhain barrel. You know what I mean, don't you? You come over the 4 mile road, the winding road, hoping you didn't pass a blooming distillery, the lorry come the other way, and you get to the top of the hill just before you turn down to the distillery. There was a barrel on its side, painted white with a black arrow pointing to Bunnahabhain.
1 mile.
Yeah, that's right. And then you went down, and after you did all your business down in the distillery, you came back up to the other side of the barrel. And the other side of the barrel was painted white with a black arrow pointing to other places.
Other places. That's right. Yeah.
I thought you were going to make a T-shirt out of that one.
Yeah, it's that kind of place. You know, it's very individual. It's starting now to catch up with the outside world. But yeah, it has a character to it that few others do. So yeah, it's something I like about it.
Sure.
I don't have a beautiful whiskey collection behind me, or these lovely musical instruments that Richard's got there. I've got a guitar sitting in the bed here because I'm in the spare bedroom here. But to give it a bit of a genuine look, I've got a flag behind me here, so you can see the Bunnahabhain flag with a big tear in it. That's because it's genuine. Yeah. This is one off at the end of the pier.
Right, okay.
Yeah, it was up in the flagpole at the end of the pier. And I stole it off my colleague Colin because he got a hold of it. And I said, "Can I borrow that?" And he's not getting it back. Yeah.
Possession's 9/10 of the law, David.
Correct. So
tell us how are things at the distillery, David? What's the latest? What's the state of play at the moment?
So right at this point in time, we opened the doors on a week past Wednesday. We're still a shop, only a shop. People come in. Unfortunately, we can't do tours. We can't do tastings. The Stellar, they're fairly cautious when it comes to the regulations and making sure that we're not getting in breach of any of the rules or anything like that. So right now, we're not even allowed to pour a dram for people coming in. We've had some of the local taxis saying, if we bring people down, can we take them down the pier and pour them a dram out of our own bottle? And sadly, we've got to say no. Now we're seriously hoping that with time, as the regulations release themselves a little bit, we'll be able to start doing the kind of things that we want to do. We had a right, a bit of a kick in the sore bits, because if we go back sort of 14 months ago, we were due to open a new visitor centre on the 30th of March. We were all geared up for it. It's lovely. We've got nice areas, tasting areas. We've got the best views in the island. Nice fully serviced kitchen area. And 1 week before we were due to open, the rug was pulled from under our feet. So the last 14 months has just been a frustration more than anything for us, because we've not been able to utilise what we've now got available to us. And the only reason that we've been given this facility from our owners is because we've worked so hard to build up a following, to get visitors coming to the place, to the point where we need a facility like that, and we want people to be able to enjoy it. So that's where we are. Fingers crossed, we're starting to move towards something a bit more relaxed.
Sure.
And we can do the things we want to do. In the meantime, we've just got to do the things that we're able to do and try and keep in touch with people and engage with them. I think that was a phrase that we used earlier. It's become a kind of a catchphrase in the industry. Engage with your customers. We just want to talk to our pals, you know.
Sure.
That's it.
The last time I saw you, David, a couple of years ago, I bought a bottle of the Palo Cortado, and I haven't drunk it all because I'm in a member whiskey club down here, and they're all desperate to try it, you know. But I haven't been able to get together with them yet to do it, because I want to do it when we're live, you know. So
absolutely, John. Well, you know, we had those 5 hogsheads, those Palo Cortado hogsheads, and we're on to the 4th of them, and we ain't going to get the 5th of them. It's been stolen away somewhere. So it's maybe going to come out as some special bottling at some time in the future. Sure. But it was such a beautiful whiskey, and you've heard me talking and all the mints that I talk, but I get kind of carried away with the sherry cask stuff, and I love talking about the casks, and that Palo Cortado was just a stunner.
Wonderful,
you know,
wonderful.
There's always something else coming along, you know. So.
Sure, well, that's right. It's a journey. It's not a destination, as we say, isn't it? That's right. Yeah.
David, what's the state of play with all the changes that we're going to have in the visitor centre? As you say, was finished even a year ago. What's the state of play with the rest of the work?
Yeah, so there was all the big song and dance, Richard, when the Stale announced that they were going to put a big investment into the place, and they have spent a lot of money on us. It's obviously been stifled a little bit by the circumstances that have come along, but it was one of these things where after the announcement was kind of made, people were looking at it and saying, but kind of nothing's happening. But there was a lot of destruction had to happen before you could get construction. So there was stuff knocked down. Sadly, the village went, but to be honest, the houses were all knackered. They'd been offered to the local housing association. They were deemed to be an uneconomic repair, and the best will in the world. Although we love working in the place, Bunnahabhain is a little bit remote for people to live in. There's no, you know, it's you're basically 10 miles to the first shop, and you know, 13, you know, another 3 miles to the capital city, Bowmore, where I live. So it wasn't somewhere that was going to be redeveloped for housing. So all those houses were knocked down. Down in production, we had warehouses. We had 9 warehouses in total, including Warehouse 9. Got my T-shirt on. Hide the moobs. Warehouse number 1's the filling store. So we had eight working warehouses. But 3 of those warehouses were absolutely knackered. They were held up with steel girders at the back, and they were crumbling. And you really don't, you know, if one of them had gone down, God, what a mess it would have been, you know. So they took the chance to get rid of 3 of them, tidied the place up a bit, and also gave us the space to build a new visitor centre. And it's lovely. The views are just stunning. The setting is great. We're full of ideas. We've got new tastings planned. We've got all sorts of kind of hopes that we want to fulfil with the visitors. And right now, we can't do it yet. The place will look different to anybody visiting. Sadly, your photograph in the quiz that said distillery, that's one of the warehouses that's gone. That was warehouse number 7.
Oh, okay.
So,
okay.
So that one has actually gone, and that's given us the space to get our visitor centre in. But
okay,
when Ian was on earlier, and we're talking about the salty influences, and you know, the fact that a distillery beside the water, there's an effect on the maturation of the casks and all the rest of it. That warehouse 7 was essentially an extension of the filling store. So we used to occasionally be allowed to go into that warehouse. And I used that as the answer when people said, does it make a difference maturing your casks there or not? Well, we used to go into that place, and that had the sort of the casks for the 1970s, a lot of old casks, beautiful old dunnage warehouse. But you'd go in, and there was just hanging. You know, the smells and the dampness just clung on to you. But what I remember about it was you would look up at the roof line, because you had the kind of, the serrated edge, the corrugated iron along the roof line. But you would get the light glinting in through that roof line. And what you then have to say is, these casks are porous. These casks breathe in and out. That's how a cask works. We're not going to get technical tonight, but that's how a cask works. It breathes in and out. And if you can see the light on that roof line, the Sound of Islay is 10 feet the other side of that wall. So the salt air's got to be coming in. And if the casks are breathing in and out, it's got to be getting in there, even if it's just that much. But it has an effect, you know. And that struck in my mind when Ian was talking about the Campbellton Dateline salty whiskies thing, you know. We were very, very proud to always be able to say to people, if you buy a bottle of Bonnahaven, trying to get it close to the camera, where's the camera? There it is. You know, anything that says Bonnahaven Islay single malt whiskey, rest assured that has matured at the distillery. Now, we can no longer quite say that hand in heart, because we've had to move some casks away. But the bulk of the serious casks, something like 16 or 17,000, are still maturing down at the distillery. So we maybe can't say hand in heart, yeah, everything's here, but the bulk of them are still there. And one thing's certain, our drams won't lose their character. Can be sure of that, you know.
Good stuff.
Got a wee question there.
Thanks very much for the sample you sent us, David.
Don't show the packaging, because I just wanted to send you some of my own liquid.
Oh, all right, okay.
The stuff the distillery sends out is so much nicer than that. So we'll come
at the sample. David, a wee question from Don. Wee question from Don first. How is the whiskey shipped out along the narrow road? I don't think the pier is still used. Is the pier used at all?
Don, thank you for the question. Our location seems a bit crazy, right? Why are we at the end of this little 4-mile windy single track road? It's just a stupid place to build a distillery. But the reason that we are where we are is because when we started back in 1881, that road wasn't there. There was no road. There was no road transport. But where we sit on, anybody that doesn't know looks at a map of Islay, we're up in the northeast corner. We sit down at the bottom of a hill in a bay. We're on the edge of the Sound of Islay, one of the main waterways in the west of Scotland. The Sound of Islay itself, massively fast-flowing piece of water. You watch the water in a day and it just horses up and down. You know, I watched a Calmac ferry going up there on Wednesday, and the captain was water skiing behind it, you know. It's something else. But strangely enough, our little bay where the distillery sits is beautifully calm and sheltered. Also, the kind of regular winds on Islay are a southwesterly. If we're tucked down in a corner in the northeast, we're sheltered. So it all lent itself to the transport of the day, which was the ships. Now, Don's question, do we use the pier anymore? No, we don't. The last time we used the pier commercially was a barley boat in 1997. So ever since then, it's simply leisure craft that use the pier. Nowadays, everything that we need and everything that we make comes up and down that same little winding 4-mile single track road in 44-ton articulated lorries. Now, it sounds horrendous. It sounds like you're going to have an accident if you see one of them coming the other way, and I mean in your trousers, you know. But the boys that drive these lorries are fantastic. They're regular users of the road, and I've got to say, I take my hat off to them, you know. They are really very, very good. So
it's quite a road.
Yeah, I mean, other than the fact that the lorries knock hell out of the actual road surface, you've got to say that it's fantastic how they do it. So I hope that answers your question, Don.
I think it does. There's another one here. My pal Colin Sims there. He's asking any sign of the otters returning this year. And Colin and I were at your distillery a couple of years ago now on a fairly drucket day when we were cycling around all the distilleries on the island as part of a wee tour of the Isla on the bikes.
Were you in that trip?
I was indeed.
I've, to be honest, I've never heard of Colin Sim. I'm afraid no. Well, I've not seen them. I've not had a photograph since last February. So I think they're still about half a mile round the bay. My friend Gary Turnbull, who runs the whiskey bar at Port Charlotte Hotel and who is my go-to bird watcher, nature specialist, Gary promises me that they're round the bay a little bit further, maybe about half a mile from the distillery. But we've not seen them back yet. But I'm hoping to. Every day that I'm working, I'm out on that beautiful new veranda that we've got. I'm supposed to call it a terrace. But like John, I'm a kind of west of Scotland boy, so it's a veranda to me. So I'm out there and I'm looking for them. But no joy yet, you know. I'm talking here.
Keep on looking.
Buggers are drama.
David, I know you put this together yourself and sent it to us in a hurry earlier in the week. I know it's not an official distillery sample.
Tell us what we've got here, David.
Very nice. It's very nice.
Tell me what one you opened first. What
Canasta.
It says Canasta.
Perfect. Okay, well, I'll get my glass and I'll pour a little bit of this Canasta. I sent you these 2 drams because rather than talking about the festival bottles, because the top brass are going to do a big announcement and do.
Sure, understand. With
the festival bottles. And to be honest, I find these ones more interesting anyway, but that's just me after a night of drinking, you know.
Sure.
We have been desperate to launch a new tasting onto our visitors. We've had our traditional tastings. We've done our core range tastings. We've done our warehouse 9s, and John, you came in on one of my warehouse 9 tastings, where it's a selection of very different casks. 2 years ago, we launched a new tasting upstairs in warehouse number 9, and we called that a maturation tasting, and it was essentially Oloroso hogsheads of spaced ages. So we took it from a 3-year-old, we took it to a 6-year-old, took it a little bit further, we took it to a 12-year-old, and we talked about the maturation process and all the rest of it. And it made a lot of sense as a tasting. But 2 years later, it doesn't, because these whiskies are now 5 and 8, and so they didn't work anymore. So we wanted to launch a new tasting. And after some discussion, we came up with the idea that our new maturation tasting would centre around Bunnahabhain's dealings or attraction or connection to sherry casks. And again, I make no apologies for the fact that I talk about sherry casks all the time. So what we've done is, with the help of Julianne, who's our master blender, and who is, I'll be honest, very, very generous with giving us casks for our warehouse tastings. We went to her, not me, Billy. He does the negotiations for us as my boss. But Billy went to her and said, we want to do this. We want to pair sherry itself with with a matching cask. And we want to take it through the range of sherries. So we've got this tasting and it's ready to go. And we've got these very different sherry casks. We don't have a Fino, but we've got a Manzanilla. And our Manzanilla casks have been fantastic over the last few years. The Manzanilla that we've got for this one is a zinger. It's light and it's quite fruity and it kind of springs onto the tongue. Whereas the other Manzanillas we've had have been darker and kind of a little bit more gentle. This one's a zinger. Then we've got a 16-year-old, I think it is, a Amontillado. And then we made a bit, am I allowed to say this word? We made an arse of ordering a PX cask. Right? So it's not through yet. But we've got a good age PX cask coming through. And then at the very, very end, we've got an Oloroso cask. But before we get to the Oloroso cask, we've got this. And this is, as you said, John, this is Canasta cask. Now, Canasta is actually a trade name. Canasta sherry is a Williams and Humbert cream sherry.
Okay.
But it's not a cream sherry in the sense of you take Oloroso, you throw some PX into it to knock the edge off of it, to give it a little bit of sweetness and to smooth it out a bit. Canasta actually is an early vatting.
Okay.
And it then matures through the Solera system to at least 6 years old. So cream sherry, Canasta, trade name, we might get into the bollocks for that, to be honest, because you know how it is with, distilleries using other drinks trade names. But we did have it as an official bottling on that 36 or 38-year-old dram about 3 years ago. So I assume we've covered that option.
Sure.
And I love this one.
But anyway, David, I'll tell you, it belies its strength, actually.
Well, do you want to mention the age on it? Can you see it there?
Yeah, but I don't think I can see the age. I see the
there's
2014.
So
2014. Some of the rubbed off.
We're
Some
really
of the rubbed off.
6 years old.
Okay.
And 61% ABV.
Sure. Okay. Let's say.
And it blows me away. I can't believe how good this is.
David, it's just an example of what we can do with younger whiskey these days. Yeah. A brilliant example of that.
You get it in the right cask, John, and
yeah.
Beautiful.
I mean, I don't think it would be the kind of dram that you would start your evening with.
Oh no,
but I'll be honest, I've ended a couple of evenings with this.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
No, it's more a slippers by the fire kind of dram, that, isn't it?
Oh, isn't it? Yeah. But I'll tell you what would go with as well. Outside on a summer's evening with a big cigar.
As a non-smoker, I can fully sympathise with you there.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Guys, should we crack open the second sample you kindly sent over for us, David?
Yeah, let's do that. So we're kind of at the end of this tasting. As I say, we had a Manzanilla, that dry, light end of the sherry kind of spectrum. Manzanilla, very unique sherry, only made in one town. And that's your kind of dry. If you get it as a sherry, it's very light. We went up through an Amontillado. We had our cream sherry. We've now come to an Oloroso. Oloroso, traditionally the darkest. not the sweetest. PX is sweeter because PX is a great variety in its own right. And I love PX sherry cask whiskey. But then again, I love a lot of whiskies. But this particular one is an Oloroso cask. And
Lovely.
This one has a little bit more age to it.
Oh, I'll tell you what, I could sit and sniff this all night long.
Yeah.
Oh. 1980.
Lovely nuttiness to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You kind of broke up as you said the year there, John. So I'll repeat it. It's 1989.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're talking a 31-year-old Oloroso cask, and we've managed to wheedle this out of the stock and get it for this sherry tasting that we're going to do.
Oh.
It's 47%, I think. 47% ABV. So
Cask strength.
that's cask strength. Yeah, that's the cask strength. It's come down to that.
Beautiful.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's just wonderful.
Yeah, it's a grown-up dram, that.
Yeah.
And that's
somebody who thinks
you could just. Sorry, John, on you go.
No, someone who thinks they don't like whiskey having this. They wouldn't even know they were drinking whiskey, would they? Oh.
Well, Bunnahabhain, without going to the extent of getting something as good as this, John, Bunnahabhain is a dram which kind of does fulfill that role quite well. Because before I ended up working at Bunnahabhain, for my sins, I used to work and actually managed and ran the Lochside Hotel for 3 or 4 years. And it was only after my boss Angus sold the Lochside that I ended up going up to Bunnahabhain, because, as I say, I'm an old man and I deserve a job that I enjoy. so that's how I ended up there. But when I was in the Lochside, I used to use this stuff. The old Bunnahabhain 12. I used to use that for the people who claimed to be non-whiskey drinkers. Because you would get people coming in, and I'm maybe going to sound like I'm categorising it here, but let's say there was a couple came in, and the guy was the whiskey nut. So he would get the whiskey, the list, and he would go through it, and he would eventually decide on the dram that he was going to have, and we would pour that for him. And then you turn around to Mrs. Dram Drinker, and you say, "Oh, and what about yourself? What you having?" "Oh, I don't like whiskey." That's like you're just pushing my buttons saying that, because if nothing else, there's a whiskey for everybody.
Yes. Yes.
So I would say, well, no, don't say that. Don't say you don't like whiskey, because it's a wee bit like saying you don't like food or you don't like air, or just, can I pour you something? And if you like it, great. And if you don't like it, just give it to him, and I won't charge you anyway. and I'll pour them a wee snifter of Bunnahabhain 12.
Sure.
Not every time. I'd be lying if I said every time. But it was great how many times you would give them a little bit of Bunnahabhain 12, and they would go, "That's okay. Yeah, I don't mind that. That's all right." And that's all you need. You just
I agree with that. Bunnahabhain 12. Yeah, I agree with that.
You just have to get over that initial hurdle with people.
Yeah.
And you've probably got some of them hooked, And
give them that one, David. You'll convert anyone.
Oh,
you want to throw too much this one about, though, would you?
This is absolutely beautiful. Now, here comes the big sales push. Okay, we've spent the last couple of weeks hand filling some bottles with this one and with the other casks that we're that we're going to use in this tasting. So some of them will be going onto the online.
Right.
Nothing like the numbers that will keep people happy. I mean, I'm talking only 100 bottles of this one and 100 bottles of that one. 100. So it's a real snapshot. It's a real just, if you're on there at the right time, you'll get a chance to buy these drams. But beautiful drinking whiskey. Beautiful drams.
Yeah, absolutely. We understand the problem. We get that problem ourselves, of course, with single stuff, you know.
Single casks.
Yeah.
You're constantly.
Nature of the beast.
Yeah.
David, are you going to give us a tune before we wrap up?
Yes, I certainly will do that, Richard.
Brilliant.
I've got the old guitar here. Thank you very much.
I don't want you to upstage Sam and Shani, but you know, you can give it your best shot.
I know Sam and Shani, fantastic, by the way. And they stole my song, which was a bit of a...
Yeah, I noticed that earlier, actually.
We'll hope that this thing's still in tune. Sounds like a bag of spanners, but I'll use it anyway. So I'm going to, with your permission, I'm going to do 2 tunes. I'll probably end up with Western Home because I always end up with Western Home.
Yeah, lovely, David. Yes.
But I'm going to do a tune which is called the Sandpiper Song. And if you don't mind me indulging, I'll tell you a little story about this song. It's done to the tune of the Dark Island, and I first heard it at a funeral here on Islay for a fella who I knew through the golf course, through the golf club, and it was a fella called Eddie Pollard who sang this song at the church down in Portellen. And Eddie was a member of a Scottish music band called the Islanders, and he sang this song in the church. And I actually thought, oh, that's a lovely song. And I said to Eddie, Eddie, I hope you don't mind me asking, would you mind giving me the words to that song? Because I would quite like to play that song. And a week later, I got a beautiful letter through from Eddie, present me with the lyrics of this song and tell me a little bit about the history of it. So as I say, Eddie played in the Islanders, who were on the White Heather Club and were a kind of famous
sure, I remember the name. Yeah.
And their manager was a guy called Gordon W. Smith. And he wrote the words to this song. And I've kind of sung it ever since. And I actually sang it at my older daughter's wedding. So it means a lot to me. And it's a song about an island. And it could be any island. But I like to think that it fits Islay really, really well.
Sure.
So we'll give this a go, and if it's crap, I'm so sorry. But
don't worry, you carry on, mate.
Well, the tide's on the tongue, the boat must away. Your sad eyes reveal what your heart cannot say. Every step to the quay is a mile on the way. From the island that can't stop, you're leaving today. Come again, sing the Sandpiper Song. Come back to the island where you belong, and the isle that is home wherever you stray. It'll blossom its flowers and welcome today. Well, they'll load up the boat, they'll cast her away, as the waves of the peak to the rocks in the bay. Come ye back to the hill, turn your face to the sea. Come away from the island you're leaving today. Come again, sing the Sandpiper Song. Come back to the island where you belong, and the isle that is home wherever you stray. It'll blossom its flowers and welcome today. Well, the water is white, waves turn to grey. The island's behind you, a lifetime away. If you come to the hill, you might see the bay. Turn and smile at the island you're leaving today. Come again, sing the sandpiper's song. Come back to the island where you belong, and the isle that is home wherever you stay. It'll blossom its flowers and welcome today. Up its western home with a song in the air, light in the eye, and it's goodbye to care. Laughter and love, a welcome and there. I've my heart, my own one. Tell me a land for the Orient gay. Speak of the riches, the joys of Cathay. Aye, but it's grand to be waiting to find yourself nearer to Isla and its western home. A song in the air, like the eye, goodbye to care, laughter and love, and a welcome and live. Isle of my heart, my own one, where are the folk like the folk of the west, Canty and Cliffy, kindly the best. There I will hide and there I will rest, at home with my info on Isla and its western home, with a song in the air, light in the eye, and it's goodbye to care, laughter and love, and a welcome and there. I love my heart, my own one. I love my heart, my own one.
Brilliant, Dave. Thank you.
John, Richard, thank you very, very much for having me on here tonight. It's been a treat for
Great
me.
to see you.
Absolute treat
Great to
for
see
me.
you.
Brilliant, David.
See you
Thank
soon.
you for turning up. Great tunes, great chat, great whiskey. So we'll see you in Isla before too long. Thanks very
Good
much,
All the
David.
best, David.
See you
Thanks,
later,
bye.
Great stuff. John, it's been an epic night, but we've got a wee bit more to come. We've got Sam and Shani waiting in the wings to give us a final set. So let's see where we're going to head to next in our musical journey. Guys, thank you for waiting so patiently in the wings.
Oh no,
no worries.
it's been great to witness the magic
And
of
hear
a
different
Vaults Club
words.
session.
Yeah, and hear different words to Dark Island. I've got the like away to the westward I'm longing to be words. So David, thanks for telling the story of where you got them as well, because I'm intrigued. I want to know more.
Brilliant.
It's great to hear that. It's making me just really miss sessions, you know?
I know.
Yeah, I know
Sharing music in the pub, like, just can't wait.
That tune of the Dark Island is just one of my favourites.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That tune.
I know.
Great
Well,
stuff.
'cause when we play at the Vault in Leith, like we will get asked to play things like the Dark Island. It's a popular tune. But I'm with Glenys. David, I want to be your friend. we should all get together and have a session.
Oh man, can't wait.
Definitely.
with your instruments as well, Richard. I see your
Yeah, you've got a fine collection of fiddles and guitars.
I know, but I feel like an imposter. I feel like a total fraud because this is not my music room. I am in the home of a friend who's a musician, and I'm
Right.
just surrounded by his instruments. And I'm a very much a kind of bashing away at the strings without any finesse. But I'm just looking. I'm a poser basically,
Well, it's a good
surrounded by instruments, but not really knowing anything about them, unfortunately. But it's nice to be here. I'm soaking up the vibes.
yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
Right,
Well,
guys, where are you taking us now?
We are going to go to, we're going to start with a tune from the North Highlands. A collector called Patrick MacDonald in the 1700s collected tunes from all over Scotland. So we're going to play just one of his hundreds of tunes from his collection. And as I say, this is from the North Highlands, not specified where. And then we're going to come south in the same set to Drummond Castle, which I believe is near Crieff, and then Loch Leven, which of course is Loch Leven near Kinross, and then finishing with a tune I wrote that was performed on Inchcombe Island, so in the Firth of Forth.
So getting very close to home.
Yeah.
Not quite back to
Not
Edinburgh
quite
yet,
there.
but nearly.
Yeah.
Great stuff. All right, guys, take it away.
Oh, cheers. So yeah, they're all, well, the first one's a lovely, very old tune. It's not even got a name, but one of those ones that have come down through the oral tradition.
Mm-hmm. This is kind of traveling through time as well as geography. This
Yes.
set, because it's there's a couple of really old ones. The Drummond Castle, I think, is 1700s as well.
Yeah, and then
So,
finishing with one of mine,
Loch
so
Leven as well.
really brand new.
Yeah.
Thank you. So we're going to finish up now with, I heard some clapping. How nice.
And can I just say that's really nice of Rebecca to comment on the music, and very gracious of her to praise our rendition of the Shetland tunes.
Oh my gosh, did she indeed? Wow.
Very, very nice.
Okay, that's lovely to know, because we were like, oh my goodness, someone actually taught by Tom Anderson is listening. So we're going to finish off now with, of course, take it away, Sam.
Oh yeah, so we're coming back home, aren't we? Finally to Edinburgh.
If you've made it this far, well done.
Yeah, well done.
Thank you for staying with us.
Yeah. So actually, this set has a little bit of a flow to it, so I'll just kind of briefly introduce it. So the first tune is by Neil Gow, and it's called "Farewell to Whiskey." So it was written
from Dunkeld.
Yeah, from Dunkeld. So it was. Well, the story is that it was written in the wake. So again, it's a 1700s tune. We seem to have dug deep into the the tunes in the 1700s tonight. Yeah, good vintage.
Is that what you say about whiskey? No.
No, it's not vintage, is it? I don't know.
Oh,
what's the term?
Showing my ignorance. Carry on.
Yeah.
I'll be quiet.
And the story is that it was written there was a bad harvest, so there wasn't much barley around, so there was kind of no whiskey that year. So it's a really beautiful tune, though. It's really wistful, and it has that kind of note, that sort of bittersweet note of, kind of something nostalgic, something longing about it. So we thought it was kind of a nice tune to begin this set, because I suppose we're all longing to get back together, aren't we? And kind of share conviviality and music and social times and all the kind of lovely just crack and stories that we've had tonight. That's the kind of thing we're all missing. And so this tune carries some of that wistfulness and some of that kind of that slight sadness, but kind of hoping kind of energy. But then we kind of find our way from there to a tune called "The Flowers of Edinburgh," which brings us really back to Edinburgh. From there, we're going to finish up with a reel of mine it's called "The Leith Docks," and really it was written. Well, it was named basically for the Leith Vaults venue of the Whisky Society, where we, in normal times and non-pandemic times, we sometimes play on a Tuesday night, and it's one of our favourite places to play in Edinburgh. It's just absolutely magic. So this kind of, it felt like the tune to end on, because it really brings it not just back to Edinburgh, but right into the cosy, high-ceilinged, beautiful acoustic, very, very welcoming, very, very convivial bar of the Whisky Society in Leith.
Where, of course, Don, we wouldn't be drinking wine. We would be drinking the whiskey.
Yeah.
Saving ourselves.
Yeah.
Saving ourselves.
Indeed, yeah. And it truly is the best whiskey
amazing.
We've ever tasted. And so this will be our last set, I think. And yeah, so we're just we'd like to say a massive thanks to Richard for inviting us to play, and to John and David and yeah, everyone who has sort of participated and for all the interesting and inspiring kind of words and inspiring whiskies that you've shared with people that we would love to partake in. We will hopefully when we can come to the venue. So yeah, thanks a lot, guys, and we'll send you out into the night with this. So beginning with Farewell to Whiskey.
Oh, thanks, guys.
Fantastic. Well done. Very well done. Beautiful, beautiful.
Great stuff.
Oh,
I can't wait to hear you live at the vaults. I've never had
Oh,
that
yeah.
privilege till now.
yeah, I mean, of course, we've never actually been to any of the other venues, but our like heart is in the vaults.
Yeah.
Mine is too. Mine is too.
I've just got a question for you guys before you go. Glennis was asking, where can she buy your music?
Wow.
If you we'll type it in the comments after, actually, because
Yeah, we don't have a record together, but yeah, we would love to make one at some point.
yeah,
Okay.
Sam's got a good couple though, and Bandcamp is always a good way to go for lots of sort of independent musicians. Bandcamp, and then obviously the artist website, which we'll type in.
Yeah, we'll put it in the comments.
Good stuff. Or she just needs to come to the vaults to hear you live.
Yeah.
That's possible.
Yeah, and we often play with in the vaults. We often play with a fiddler called Tara Cunningham. So we often
Yeah.
form a trio, which is really fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're ever in town on a Tuesday night, see what's going on at the vaults.
Can't
I'm
be
going
right.
I'm going to make that a date.
Nice.
Nice one.
When I come back to Scotland, Tuesday night at the vaults, I'll put it in my calendar.
Great.
Yes. Lizzie's saying, please make a CD, you two. So, your fans are out there ready and waiting.
Yay!
Right, Sam and Shani, lovely to see you as always. Thank you so much for your contribution.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Cheers, guys. Thanks
Of
for the
Scotland.
invitation to come along. It's really nice. Cheers.
Cheers, guys. Right, John, I promised everyone it was going to be an epic night, and it's like
What
we're
a evening.
2
Richard,
hours
that
and
was
40 minutes into
fantastic.
this. Yeah.
Fantastic.
It was going to be a big one, but that's fantastic. So we're going to wrap up. Big thanks to Sam and Shani. As always, brilliant music. Vic Galloway for his contribution about the music and malt pairings. Ian McAllister from Glen Scotia. David Brodie from Bunnahabhain. Rachel McNeill. And of course, yourself, John. Great to see you. And you've got a couple of weeks now before you're back on for
27th of May,
the
virtual members tasting, and Robin Lang will be on with us. So more music. Robin's known right across Europe for his whiskey song. So please join us for that. That'll be fantastic.
Yeah, and I think most of the tasting packs are gone for that. We've been talking about the tasting packs tonight. We're hoping to make more available. So if you want to join that tasting with John and Mads and Robin, look out for tasting packs, and hopefully we'll get some more online. But there's a lot of them been snapped up already, so people very eager for that. So look forward to that one, John.
Yes. Loads of whiskey music night, folks. I promise not to sing. Okay.
Good stuff. Right, John, thank you very much. Great to see you.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you. All the very best.
Cheers, mate. Okay, folks, that's it. As I said, big night tonight, but hope you all have a good time. Festival tasting on the 27th with John and Mads and Robin Lang, not to be missed. Festival bottlings coming soon. Keep an eye on your emails and your social media to keep up to speed on when those fantastic bottlings that we've been talking about are actually coming out. Members' rooms are reopening on the 18th of May, but the Vaults already has its outdoor area set up and ready to go, so you can get down there even now. But the other venues are opening up on the Tuesday, the 18th of May, so that's fantastic. Home dining, your last opportunity to enjoy that next weekend, and it's a kind of members' favourite menu, I think, for next weekend. All that, and of course, a new edition of Unfiltered online just now. So check that out. And it only remains for me to say thanks to everyone for taking part tonight. Thanks to our guests, and thanks to all of you for tuning in. And stay safe. We'll see you next month. And Slange.